A very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us for the weekly webinar sessions that are hosted by EmployWise. As you all know, the last month we had a theme that revolved around employee engagement, and I am really happy that you all actually liked the theme. Today, it's a new month, a new webinar. So the theme of this month is skilling issues in Indian scenario. So basically, here we would be actually discussing what are the issues that are creeping up in the Indian industry when we talk about talent, skills, and skilled employees or domain specialists. So without wasting any more time, I would like to invite our first speaker for this month, that's Prachika, and she will be delivering the webinar on synchronizing the Indian skilling industry. Over to Prachika.
Thanks, Ambika. Hello, everyone. So first of all, let me start the webinar by introducing you to a very known thing, that is talent acquisition. You all know what talent acquisition is, so I would not raise any question or explain it anymore. But would like to tell you that talent acquisition has seen great growth in both scope and maturity, as you all know, over the last, say, decade. So once a small segment of human resources and an entry point for new HR professionals seeking to become generalists, the field has now evolved into a standalone business function in many organizations, partnering with the human resources as well as with other functions and lines of business as an equal. Many small companies have talent acquisition as the major function in their organizations. So the increase in attention signifies an acknowledgement to the fact that organizations must be able to hire talented people quickly to achieve any strategic goal. And a recent research indicates that the emphasis on talent acquisition will continue to grow. Say, with 63% of organizations expecting economic improvements to enable more hiring. Now, the top three recruiting challenges cited are finding good candidates, filling positions quickly, and engaging hiring managers, right? So now what we need to understand is that today our Indian skilling industry is such that we have a lot of populous people here. We have quantity, but as far as quality is concerned, that is minimal. So evolving demographics unambiguously point out that India will remain a young nation and the largest contributor to the global workforce over the next few decades, say, an exceptional strength compared to the rapidly aging population in Western countries, and that in China owing to its one-child policy. It's one-child policy. So although investment, reforms, and infrastructure are likely drivers of India's economic growth, no growth driver is as certain as the availability of people in India's working age growth. So a young population in India's demographic dividend, and it gives India the potential to become say a global production hub, as well as say a large consumer of goods and services. Further, since the age group of 45 to 60 years is the key contributor to household savings, India's saving rate, which has actually increased rapidly in the last decade, will get a further boost, thereby supporting investment. Right now, the a rise in its working age population, however, is necessary but not sufficient for India to sustain its economic growth. So at one point where it is a very good thing, it is a very positive thing that we have uh, we have population to support our economic growth. At the same time, we do not have the requisite skills and to support it. So we all know that skill gaps are increasing in India. Now, a research also reported that by 2020, India will need about 500 million skilled workforce. My stress is on skilled workforce. So this has opened a new business avenue in the country, that is the skilling industry, which is say $100 billion US dollar market. The private sectors have entered this market to act as a bridge between the workforce and skilling gaps. So the stress should be on increasing the skilled labor force. Now, if we see the graph, essentially, India will be the world's most populous country by, say, 2030. So India's share is world population, say in to 2010 was about, say, 17.6%, and is the largest after China according to UN World Population. Now, with India's population forecast to grow at 1% per year, significantly faster than China, which is at 0.4% per year, India will be becoming the most populated country by 2030. And say India's population is likely to rise by 1.21 billion by 2030, and further to 1.6 billion by 2050. And now that we have the largest working population, we also have a largest working population as well. See, most significantly, India will have the largest number of people in the working age group between 15 to, say, 59 years. And the working age group, as per Indian definition, is taken by the age group 15 to 59 years throughout the report that we are talking about. So half of India's population is below 25 years of age, and 62% of its population is in working age group. India thus accounts for 17.5% of world's total working age population. How interesting this graph looks like. It isn't that interesting to the fact that we have the population, at the same time the skill, there are certain challenges. Let's talk about why skilling is a billion people challenge. So we have about a billion people, and that's what we are talking about. The potential trends in labor supply and demand indicate the nature of imbalances in the labor market. Now, the imbalances are, say, likely to have the following, effects on the labor market. One is the challenge of skill mismatch. So this mismatch in India's workforce demand and supply is as much in jobs that require basic vocational skills like welding, plumbing, etc., as it is in jobs that require well-qualified manpower. So if the current trends in the nature of labor demand and supply continue, so skill mismatch would continue to plague the Indian labor market. Now the mismatch would continue to stem from skill shortages, which so where there are, say, not enough people with a specific type of skill to meet the demand. For example, even at present, knowledge-based industries such as IT, ITES have trouble, what you say, I'm sorry, so have trouble recruiting the kind of information technology specialists they need. Now, a new generation of educated and skilled people who are, say, in short supply will be required to spearhead the Indian transitions to a knowledge-based economy. Consequently, the wages and attrition rates would continue to rise in industries and that faces the skill mismatch. Now, at the same time, a vast number of qualified workers who are, say, a correct fit on paper for knowledge-based jobs would continue to remain unemployed. This suggests that a skill shortage relates in part to a scarcity of people with the required skills, experience, and quality of education. Now, skill shortage would also persist in jobs requiring vocational skills, opportunities in infrastructure, construction, mining, healthcare have increased the demand of vocationally trained workers. Now, as say a formal vocational training has not been widespread, skilled workers to meet the rising demand from these sectors are likely to remain in short supply. Now, if we talk about the second one, that is, say, the shortage of high-skilled people or high-skilled labor can constrain productivity and economic growth. Now, so the two are interrelated. Now, if we have a shortage of high-skilled labor, then we will have constraints related to productivity and economic growth at large. So if India is to achieve and sustain double-digit, economic growth in the near future, the key would be to raise the supply potential of the economy. So the number of say hours of work and the productivity of workforce measured as a output as per the workforce affect the supply of goods and services. Keeping the number of working hours unchanged, India will need to increase employment or productivity to maintain its current growth rate. So growth in labor productivity would be especially critical as high-end services sector. If we talk about shortage, the skill shortage could also raise inequality and inflation. So the bargaining power of companies with their skilled employees is severely restricted during phases of skill shortage. So if I talk about wages hence increase at a greater rate than productivity growth. Excessive wage growth for a section of population would impact income inequality and inflation. Also, if shortage in skills and are significant, then companies would avoid investing new technologies which may require a specific type of skilled labor, you understand. Now, the companies would thus produce relatively less differentiated and lower quality products. Now, disguised employment will continue in agriculture at least. Why? Because the large army of uneducated, unskilled, and hence unemployable labor is unable to meaningfully plug into the fast-growing service sector. So without any deliberate policy efforts to expand the labor-intensive industrial sector, a majority of India's workforce would remain trapped in the agricultural sector. If we talk about the fiscal burden of a young and unemployed population, so now, as you understand, the fiscal burden of an aging population is a phenomenon that will plague Western economies in the coming years. So as their working age population shrinks and their aging population expands, the Western governments would have to spend more on social security, healthcare, and welfare programs. Although India, in contrast, has a relatively younger population. So the youth-dominated population will yield an economic dividend only if it finds gainful employment. If it does not, the economy will be fraught with, say, social tensions and instability. Okay. So now if we talk about, sorry, so yeah. Now for, say, years, a company have struggled to capture market share through economization and downsizing, while growth uh, has seemed to take a backseat. Smart companies know that, know that innovation and technology is what drives growth in the new economy. Integral to this initiative, say the human resources executives are now being recognized as some of the most important strategic leaders in organizations seeking growth and growth through innovation. So if we talk about the challenges that we saw in the earlier slides, so the latter part that we are now starting into are the solutions to what challenges has been discussed so far. So for a company to benefit from innovation, all internal practices must reflect the same level of strategic direction, including human resource management, and especially in the sourcing and recruitment of new talent into the company. Now, innovative HR departments are continuously brainstorming new and creative ways to reach out to the more of the right people in the right way. So accomplishing this takes more than clever automation of existing practices, but innovative new practices and the ability to automate them. So that's nice that you say that, oh, but who has the time, you do. If you want to help take your company and your role to the next level in really understanding your business, your customers, and most importantly, your employees. So if you are crushed for time, and thinking strategically is only something you tend to do on weekends, consider this as a small step in the right direction will make more significant and more effective. Make your job easier. Help your company, say, improve its hiring success ratio, increase the value of the workforce, improve your overall employee satisfaction by giving you more time to devote to. You understand? Now here, so our 7 practical things you can do will make innovative talent acquisition strategies and your talent acquisition quickly bring the innovators to your door and make such a difference in your company. So first of all, let's start with how, so first of all, define your talent acquisition strategy. Get it clear. So it is it is simply the tactics of filling open jobs. Be honest. Or the higher calling of attracting good caliber people to your company regardless of your job availability. So getting proactive about talent acquisition is the most difficult and most important first step in innovating talent acquisition. especially for the busy HR professionals who feel like teachers in an overcrowded classroom. So if you are going to make a, say, change, you are going to need help in doing it, right? So get support for your initiative. If you don't already have it, say by educating management, that proactive talent acquisition builds a company brand and strength. So make two lists. One being what you want your talent acquisition strategy to be, and one consisting of how actually spends your time, so any discontent, any discontent or the disconnect clearly illustrates a problem that can be solved with additional resources. So the payback of investing in new technology, of automating or outsourcing the major drains on your time can be easily seen, when you show the saving in time to hire. So the value of having a talent pool to draw compatible job seekers for versus responding to unqualified applicants is always easy to show. The second thing that you need to do is outsource internally. A clever way to get someone else to do your job. No. So, and if this is the first thought in your head, you really do need a day off. If so, it's a clever way of finding the right person for a position while adding the insurance of a successful hire. So don't develop the job spec in a vacuum. Involve the hiring manager, the superiors and the subordinates this person works will affect. So collect their ideas for increasing productivity, satisfaction and success into this particular role that you're hiring for. What skills are required, for example? What, personal traits will be helpful? What strengths are already on the team and which might be missing? Translate this input into skills and personality attributes that tell you exactly what to look in for a candidate. So the competencies are only half the equation, with personal style being the other half. So build it in, to the creation of your preferred candidate profile. Now, be realistic about the skills and attributes you seek, okay? So don't, does the job description sound like unattainable super candidate who is everything to everyone? So no. So a strong leader and a team player, and an accommodating analyst who quickly makes tough decisions, realize when traits conflicts, draw up a list and decide and or ask questions that are competing the traits are more relevant or important. So once you pinpoint the personality traits that are more likely to lead to success, you can use this as an effective pre-screening filter. Now, focus on the future rather than on the past with the innovative talent. So what a person might have done is not as relevant as what they need to do. So ask several people from the department to think of real life situations that is a person might have to deal with, and get a better sense of the true resource and style of the person. So ask specific situational questions that are relevant. Concentrate on a comparison with the true skills and personality traits the company needs to while positioning. Now, if we talk about the third one, that is, say, marketing your openings in ways you may not have tried before, and build relationships to reach people you have never reached before. So set up an employment interest station in your lobby, at trade shows or conferences. Give your business cards to salespeople or anyone you evangelize employment, or who may come across colleagues or even customers interested employment who are interested in employment with your company. So think like a talent scout and open your recruiting efforts up to the extent beyond the familiar grounds for sourcing talent. Are you impressed with how organized your daughter's scout leader is? So, get a direct mail piece that you thought was creative and effective, persuaded to donate money to a charity you have never heard of before, by a caller with a great attitude. So talent is everywhere. Recognizing and reaching out to is the first step in building a lasting network of talent you can tap when you need it. Now, if we talk about the fourth one, that is, say, create a widespread referral network that works continuously. Say, recent hires, association colleagues, retirees, and high performers who have left your company are all excellent points of reference. So consider putting up wanted posters describing your ideal candidate, complete with a cash reward. A reward gets split among all referrals in a line that leads to a successful hire. Now, if we talk about the fifth point, that is really interact with people who show interest in joining your company. So job seekers, um, both active and passive, are a foundation of information about your business, your industry, your competition, and your customers. If you develop the approach of treating your interested job seekers like you would treat prospective customers, this can become second nature. So forget about autoresponders on email or generic postcards. These can actually confirm an applicant suspicion of being a number rather than a valued prospective employee. Now the sixth one is that create an easy, non-intimidating talent collector that makes it easy for people to explore your company, what it's about, what it's like to work for. The best place to do this is your company website. So with its global reach and endless possibilities for communication and relationship building around the clock, move the careers area to a prominent position on your website. Nothing shows the relative importance of people to your company more than having the careers area behind the contact us, and a link which is beside terms and condition in 6-point text. So use your website as a branding tool for working with you as much as it's used to promote your company's products, services, and brands. So as the first point of research for many prospective employees, your website will likely be their first impression of you. So make it more than one way experience by asking your visitors about themselves and giving them a no obligation way to express interest in employment. Now, if we talk about the 7 point, is that 7 on the last, just for information, because I'm just going on and on here on the solutioning part. So turn around your application process, reduce your workload, and find the right people for open positions fast by what? By having interested job seekers create a profile by themselves. So you can collect more information specific to companies' hiring objectives, and also begin to turn the workload in your favor by not having to respond to each individual application. Now this way you can build your talent pool exponentially to always have a ready source of search for current and coming position openings. Okay. Now if we now that this is December, and I thought of also adding some points from trends that we are going to follow in 2013. So there are 5 strategic trends that talent acquisition is likely to look in for and pitch in for. The first being the consumerization of technology. Now, what does it actually mean? Consumerization of technology, the tools and techniques driving information technology are increasingly likely to, emerge little by little in consumer-oriented products, such as smartphones and inexpensive software application like ours, say employee-wise. So people go for, since it is only 25 rupees per employee, or 35 I guess now after increased price. So it is as less as this price, so people go for it. So our recruitment module is really at a high pitch and is well known among our customers. Such what you say technology products, consumer oriented products, are being swept in, are opposed to sweeping your enterprise oriented solutions. Now this trend, which industry watchers call consumerization, has been a bit slower to reach talent acquisition technology than other segments of the IT marketplace, but shifts towards an app-based design and mobile devices are expected to pick up speed over the next 3 years. So if I talk about the app-based products, so there is a shift in technology expectations. So the shift in technology expectation means that the core application tracking systems, the ATS, will emerge as a hub for multiple plug and play products, right? So say this next generation of products, such as recruiting, candidate relationship management tools, CRM tools, talent network, video interviewing, social collaboration, and say various sourcing technologies, add a specific depth of functionality and interact with applicant tracking systems in ways that only background checking and pre-hired assessment providers did in the past. So such additions are increasingly affordable, accessible, thanks to the cloud technology that helps us as well, and capable of integrating with core systems from different vendors. So organizations often can buy them out of, say, departmental budgets, avoiding more complicated purchase review processes. If we talk about mobile technology now, so conversations about mobile technology in talent acquisition have come a long way. So just 2 years ago, say, the focus was on the basics, say SMS and texting only. Now today the space also encompasses a, say, constantly growing array of options for feature phones like smartphones and tablets. So the rapid growth of the tablet market, such as iPad and Kindle Fire, is changing how we view the mobile workforce. And with some analysts anticipating tablets outselling traditional laptops by the end of the decade, mobile is a vital part of the talent acquisition strategy. So already some of the startup HR technology providers are building products for mobile devices first, and then developing the SaaS look and feel for the uh, desktop and laptop users. So we expect to see the technology part being emerging in the talent acquisition space with functionality that is equally as robust as in the standard software. So collaboration, accessibility, and actionable design are key for recruiters, candidates, and hiring managers as well. If we talk about the, say, adoption of marketing techniques, so over, say, 18 months, we have watched market leaders in sourcing and recruitment shift toward, say, strategies traditionally deployed in only in consumer marketing environment. So there is a fresh awareness of and on emphasis on employment branding and the potential of utilizing everyone and everything to promote an organization. So corporate marketing tools are being used to approach the recruitment team's main consumers, job candidates, future candidates, and anyone who may refer candidates. The renewed focus on employment branding is causing organizations of all sizes to take a closer look at how their organizations are represented as employers. Effectively communicating an employment brand among various sources has proven to be say a challenge for even the most advanced organizations, but it is a skill worth mastering. So it's important among job seekers, considering your organization is only going to increase as more companies do it. Now, consumer marketing tools are also enhanced. Say, using a consumer marketing approach can seem intimidating at first. Partner with marketing team for some basic templates and don't go overboard. Okay, so simple and direct is often most successful in recruitment marketing. A new crop of talent acquisition technologies has emerged over the last few years. Recruitment marketing platforms are there. So the end results of using marketing platform are sourcing analytics that can't be beaten, or a single system that works across all channels to funnel candidates and recruits back to a one centralized location, say your ATS, recruiting, CRM, etc., or your employee-wise recruitment module, and allowing organization to market and manage prospects in a talent network. Also, if we move to the the third trend, so that is, just a second now, proactive sourcing. So now the employment rates are at some of the highest levels in history in India, but somehow sourcing quality candidates who have the necessary skills, education, training, and who fit into the corporate culture seems as though it has never been harder. So while recruiters has expressed concern about sourcing candidates at all levels, the talent technology surveys identified executive and skilled positions as the most difficult. Participants cited entry level and administrative roles are easiest. So though it has long been a task of specialists sourcing in an area where recruiters are spending more time than ever. The same survey also found that average recruiter was spending 15 hours a week on sourcing. So sourcing is evolving into a core competency that all recruiters need to understand and be able to execute. So this substantial amount of time is contributing to the third trend in talent acquisition, simplified yet strategic sourcing. So I'll quickly talk about deep web integrated search. So one needs to relatively few integrated searches products mm, currently exist in HR technology ecosystem, but more are on horizon. So the products already released allow a recruiter or sourcer to look into one system and search all deep websites, password protected sites, etc., and internal databases. Now this can be say ATS, CRM or HRIS like EmployWise from one centralized tool. Users can say track results, saving search strings, and working more efficiently and effectively. One interesting thing that I want to share with you is that LinkedIn is a great example of something that can fall to the wayside when recruiters are overwhelmed. So in Talent Technology Corporation's survey, while a majority of recruiters surveyed have a presence on LinkedIn, roughly 40% fail to use the site for recruiting. Now, not actively sourcing, going out and proactively searching for candidates that haven't applied to the company, leave untold numbers of potential candidates on the table, potentially increasing both time and cost to hire. So about say 18% said a yes to a paid account when they used a paid account, said that they really personally feel that LinkedIn really helps in recruitments. And about 43% said a yes who had a personal account, that it is helpful. Now, talent network, if we talk about, strategic sourcing has been long associated with building talent pipelines, pools to maintain a network of prospects for positions that may open because of a strategic hire or high turnover. So of late, the conversation has shifted toward talent communities. So also known as say talent networks. So these networks allow potential job candidates to opt in or be added by a strategic recruiting team to specialized groups that match their skill sets and career goals, versus the responsibility being on a recruiter or sourcer to opt them in. So while you can technically create talent networks manually, most organizations are turning to talent relationship management and recruiting candidate relationship management tools. Now, such tools actually make it easier to track, manage, search their networks properly. Now, the concept isn't new, but the industry-specific technology designed to execute it, it is far newer than most traditional ATS solutions. So the features, say the technology features that we have today are, say, creating a talent pool from multiple sources, ability to say search and source easily, and easy point of entry to for candidates. If we talk about candidate experience, over the last 18 months, we have seen more interest than ever before from organizations of all sizes in making sure job candidates have a positive experience. Organizations recognize that the reality that attracting candidates through marketing or networking is where some of the hard work of talent acquisition begins, sorry, not when it ends. So providing a positive experience, active engagement, and wooing the candidates is becoming a standard, particularly as we look forward to increases in hiring. Only 12% of recruiters who participated in talent technology survey through it uh, thought that it would be easy to rehire for positions that has been downsized over the past 18 months. Also, the pre-applicant phase that we talk about, before say applying for a role, candidates seek a solid understanding of what your organization is and what is it that they will like to work there for you. So recognizing that static career sites offering only basic information does not satisfy prospects, the curiosity. And many companies are building directly, and are directly connecting up with candidates to be able to dynamically microsites and talent distinct sub segments of the market, say recent graduates or veterans and executives, etc. These microsites often include videos, articles, and even blog posts by current employees doing the types of roles that they might be interested in exploring. So in addition to a detailed description of the company's culture, how the hiring process works, and a clear understanding of benefits is portrayed, especially the ones that are unique to the organization, makes a difference to passive candidates. Prospects at this stage are paying attention not only to the information they actively seek, but also to the general information that an organization chooses to divulge. Candidate capture is now here I would like to tell you a small tip out here. Passive candidates will often only have a social profile, say like a LinkedIn profile versus a traditional resume. Pick a solution that will allow them to use that to apply or enter your talent network. Post application is another step into it, that after applications are in, the talent acquisition process involves three types of people: those who aren't qualified, those who are qualified but not make it through the processes, and those whom you hire. Okay, so one that are rejected, one that are shortlisted to the next stage, and the third ones are the ones that are put on hold. If we talk about the fifth trend, proving return on investment. Now, HR professionals in general, and specifically those in the talent acquisition, are becoming strategic partners with business leaders in many organizations. So, quantifiable metrics and outcomes are expected to determine how corporate budgets of both money and time should be spent. Every part of the sourcing or recruiting process should be measurable so that organization can evaluate ROI. Different talent acquisition methods have different potential outcomes. For example, part of ROI of a particular marketing or a social networking process might be improved brand awareness, whereas at the same time, the outcome of a job board posting might simply be the number of applicants or hires. So recruitment marketing platforms, as well as some of the more strategic applicant tracking systems, can routinely gather certain information and come equipped with an array of analytics and reports that users can run in tracking that information. Perhaps the most important business metrics is the ROI, of a particular talent acquisition source. I would like to now conclude the webinar. So strategic talent acquisition has evolved from, say, simply filling an open position to partnering with the multiple disciplines across your an organization. Today's strategic talent acquisition role encompasses the branding, marketing, networking, outsourcing, sourcing, business analytics, as well as traditional interview and selection responsibilities. While companies cannot expect to, develop expertise in all of these disciplines overnight, recruitment platforms of tomorrow are already rolling out to help companies accelerate their processes and plans more efficiently. So by studying the business trends and discussed in the webinar, companies of all sizes can gain insights that help them to streamline and enhance their current processes. Choose the tools best suited for your needs. Build the best possible talent acquisition teams. For talent acquisition and human resource leaders, building awareness of the industry and business trends that are driving decisions in best of class organizations can help to guide both short-term and long-term efforts and investments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prachika. That was indeed a very researched PPT that you've actually prepared with all the information. Friends, we are open for queries. There is a question box on the left top corner. Please write in your queries and we'll be happy to help you out. So Prachika, you've discussed about the Indian skilling industry, what are the challenges and how people can overcome those challenges. And then you've discussed about the talent acquisition team, how you can actually, acquire the right talent for the organization and how they can be, trained in the and fit in the organization. Can you explain, do we really need multitaskers or skilled domain specialists in the organization?
See, if you actually have listened to the whole webinar attentively, uh, that's for all the attendees though, then I have been actually talking about this only, that in India we have we have a lot of quantity, but if we talk about quality, that is minimal. So for me, domain specialist, the skills domain specialist is one who will contribute to the organization, who will then be able to contribute to the Indian economy. Because at large, we have to think from a broader perspective of getting into a position where there is growth in Indian economy as well. So that can only happen if all the organizations at large are profiting from their own businesses. So I will definitely be in favor of skilled domain specialists, though multitaskers are often say very beneficial to the organizations, but at the same time where the proper quality, the effectiveness, the efficiency is required, the productivity goes at stake if we take only multitaskers.
All right. So another question which we have is, people are asking that we have identified that India has the skill gaps in the country. We've also identified how we can overcome those skill gaps. We can as you had mentioned, that it's $100 billion market, and the private sector are actually tapping that market. Do you think that the country, not only the country, but the organizations also, individual organizations, are they ready to shell that amount of money on training and development and, helping out the workforce to actually, develop themselves and develop the skills?
Sure. So to capitalize on the opportunity, the skilling companies must get the cost, quality, scale equation right. So if you raise quality, then you raise cost, but you need scale. So if you raise scale, you have the danger of lowering the quality while you lower the cost. So it is a type of linear programming between cost, quality, and scale. So the traditional equation of cost, quality, and scale, where cost is directly proportional to quality and scale, will not apply here. So therefore, getting the recipe right is crucial, as this is not a training program alone, but the challenge is one of the effective execution and implementation of training mass employable youth in multiple, say, geographical locations. Many players have also chosen to restrict themselves to the development of content and products, and for skill enhancement, which can be embedded into the existing formal education system as well, so thereby enabling them to scale in the absence of any infrastructure investment. Yet another way to scale is for players to specialize on one skill and concentrate on enabling speed and scale of execution in that particular area itself.
Thanks, Prachaka. Friends, if you have any more queries, you can write in to us at info@employwise.com, and we will be happy to help you out. I would like to thank you all once again for taking out time and attending the webinar. Thank you so much. See you next Friday.